Anyway, let's settle in for what happened on Newsfile. And I've got to tell you, this week was very, very educative. I mean, we heard views from authorities in this matter that has gone to the Supreme Court. Let's hear what they shared.
The court grossly erred on two accounts.
Sure, sir.
Right? On two accounts. First of all, there was an application. The subject matter of the ruling was an application for stay of execution. Samson, you and I know, right, that there is no executable order or ruling. For a stay of execution, an application for a stay of execution to be well-founded. First of all, there has to be, a judgment, right, an executable judgment, and ancillary orders or orders pursuant to that judgment which are about to be executed.
The famous NDK case.
NDK,
to the Supreme
and
Court.
if you go back to even 1963, Joseph and Jebele, brothers, and so on.
I should say very quickly that if the Speaker resists the court order, our Constitution doesn't actually, contrary to what most people believe, treat all three arms as coordinate. That's what the implication of what I've argued elsewhere is the overly robust, the overly sharp teeth of our judicial review mechanism. Because in Article 2, the court can direct its order at anybody. And even in the case of the president, non-compliance is a ground for the removal, for the impeachment of the president.
High crime.
So it is a high crime. Simply in ordering that the arms in that way, the Constitution has said that it is supreme and it is enforced by the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court therefore has supervisory jurisdiction over the other two arms.
Your party says, if you do what they have done, you have forfeited your membership automatically, correct?
And our same party can also elect not to to forgo it. If the party, just like certain parties,
when Alan Chemanting left, all of your members who joined him, you issued a statement. You remember what you said? That they have all automatically
in this case,
ceased.
Statement.
No, that they have all automatically ceased to remain members of your party by the operation of Article 3 of your Constitution, correct?
It was a decision at the National Council, of which I was at a meeting, that these members have left. And for that matter, what do we do? The National Council took the decision saying that let's write a letter officially to tell.
So your point is that
here is that
even though your Constitution says once you do this, you automatically leave, it has to be followed by a writing. Otherwise, the person has not left.
I did not say so. What I'm trying to say is that the party, New Patriotic Party, can elect to forgo that. And in our Constitution, we can decide to say that, okay, you are automatically not a member if you go independent. But if we don't notify you or notify the Speaker or say so, you cannot take action on behalf of our party.
Wow.
Oh, really?
If I was the Chief Justice and mindful of speed, and I think speed is of essence here, he should have asked both sides to show up on Monday in court with a panel ready to debate the issue. I can tell you that in 2 hours, the lawyers for both sides could have debated all the issues and they could have issued a ruling that night that would have been substantive. Even though this is only a stay of the Speaker's ruling, in effect it is a ruling because if you do nothing, it has the practical effect of vindicating one side and leaving the other side. And given how long they took on the Domilovo case, we cannot take it for granted that the justice here will be done speedily.
Fascinating insights. Winston.
Yeah, I mean, let me first of all say this. Now, in 2020, when Speaker Michael Quay said the Fomena MP had lost the right to represent the people of Fomena because of his decision to contest as an independent candidate. I remember right here in the studio, we had just moved into the studio, beg your pardon, and at the time we spoke to Professor Ransford Jampo. He was surprised that his lecturer in political science, the Speaker, could make such a ruling. At the time, you had the likes of Professor Kweku Asare, make the point that it was not the right decision. Beg your pardon. Now, I agreed with them at the time that Speaker Michael Quay was wrong.
Yeah.
Our understanding at the time, of course, was the fact that the Constitution wanted to prevent the happenings of post-independence, where political parties, okay, or where the leading governing party at the time coerced members of parliament, and I use this, to shift camp or move from one side to the other. So this person says, oh, I was voted on the ticket of the Northern People's Party, but I'm crossing over to the Convention People's Party, and he's still a member of parliament.
Yeah.
So the idea, the spirit behind that law is that never again should we have a situation where members of parliament within the same parliament cross carpet. That was the understanding I got from it. Others have raised different views, and of course that's the beauty of what the lawyers do, so that if you have doubt you could go to the Supreme Court. In the same vein, I believe that what Speaker Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin did was wrong. But you see, this is the problem. Professor Michael Kwe set a very bad precedent. He did. His later justifications that, oh, unless the party says the party sacks you and all of that, it means you've left the party, what. Look, you cannot justify that. To leave a party, I can also argue that the party's constitutions are clear. That the moment you decide to contest as an independent candidate, you have left the party. So in that case, you cannot say that, because this is the case. So the speaker comes in and says, learning from Professor Michael Kwe, and in all these instances, it was for partisan capital.
Yes.
The NPP in 2020, because they had convinced Honorable Isiama to rescind his decision and he refused, used Speaker Michael Kwe to get this man out. Little did they know that in 2024, with 138, 137, it was going to come back to haunt them. This time, how does the NDC play around it? The NDC plays around it nicely, because then they have one of their own members who's involved. But you have 3 members involved. Okay, this is it for me. And I'm going to talk about the Supreme Court bit in a minute. See, the Supreme Court, the confidence in our judiciary is at an all-time low. And I have always maintained that the only institution under our 3 arms of government that we should be concerned about is the judiciary. People don't trust the executive. They don't trust the legislature. You've read, the president Ghana never got, where, a member of parliament admits that when they go to parliament with bills, they add something to it.
Yep.
So people don't trust the legislature. The only institution that somewhat has some level of trust is the judiciary. Unfortunately, when the judiciary has to answer the political question all the time, it actually gives credence to the belief that the judiciary also is becoming an arm of the government, and in this case, the executive controlling it. I listened to Kweku Ansah-Asare. Is it Ansah-Asare? Let me just mention Ansah-Asare, a former director of the Ghana Law School, where he says the Supreme Court is too predictable.
Yeah.
This is it for me. Because of the preamble I gave, I'm going to proceed this way. From all that I have listened to, from all the lawyers, I am convinced that the Supreme Court could probably have done something different. From all the views that I've listened to. That notwithstanding, once there's a ruling of the Supreme Court, and Mahama Yaga says, we have not been served, and you're served, you have to go according to it. But because we'll come back to this issue, let me just say this quickly. For the majority leader or minority leader, Alexander Apenyumakin, he should also learn something. Sitting down in public, beating your chest, and saying, journalists would always do the right thing. And in that case, what Joy News did was the right thing. What Alexander Apenyumakin must learn is that it is not every time that Patapa wins. Sometimes it's better to engage.
So in all of this confusion, I've had one question. So what if it was the the leader of the NPP caucus or the leader of the NDC caucus who filed to contest the next election on the ticket of a different political party, would they continue to maintain them as the leader of their party? And I doubt that that will happen. Okay, I've been looking through the NPP's constitution, and that's 391. Talks about how a member can leave the party, and at this point it says a member of the party who stands as an independent candidate against the officially who stands by merely standing, the party doesn't want to have anything to do with you, against the officially elected member of the party, or who joins or declares his or her support for another political party or for an independent candidate when the party has sponsored candidates in a general or by-election, automatically forfeits his or her membership of that party. I think that if we're applying this strictly, the matters that we have at our hands now would have been resolved.
You see, I'm so glad you've read that, because I think we want to pretend sometimes, just for our own political expedience, we want to pretend that we don't understand the rules we have all been abiding by, right? So the MPP has written in there that if you stand against an MPP member,
they didn't even say if you win.
No,
it is just standing or intentions.
And they didn't even say if you run.
Yeah,
they say if you stand.
If you stand, yeah.
Right? Or if you declare. The word declare is also there. So it's not about some future event, like we keep being told that this is about a future event. The conditions under which you automatically leave the party have happened.
Yeah,
they have happened, and it doesn't require some executive committee to decide. I mean, imagine, and Professor Mensah Bonsu made that point strenuously on Newsfile, that the NPP constitution has created its executive committee. The executive committee can't now come and sit and defy the constitution that created it.
Yeah.
Then there is no place in that constitution that says once you stand against your party, the executive committee will decide whether you have left or not. It doesn't say so.
It doesn't. No.
It says that once you stand, you automatically leave. Now, these independent candidates, let's take the two NPP independent candidates. In the constituencies where they are running independent, there are MPP candidates.
Yeah.
So does this mean that the Electoral Commission has registered two NPP candidates in that constituency?
There's no.
Is that what it means?
There's no controversy over that. We know
exactly.
They lost their primaries and decided that yes.
Precisely. So there's an MPP candidate in these specific constituencies. So you ask yourself, has the EC registered two MPP candidates in each of these constituencies?
No.
So let's stop kidding ourselves. Anyway, in spite of all of that, because you see, like Winston, I have always maintained that Speaker Michael Quay got it wrong. So by the same estimation, Speaker Bagbin got it wrong. Now Speaker Bagbin insists that his ruling is not it is not because of Speaker Ukwue's ruling. It stands alone. And one of the things Speaker Bagbin said in his ruling is that, okay, look, if you say that this thing is it only applies to future events because they are running to be in the next parliament, so it doesn't apply, then the constitutional provision will never kick in, because by the time the next parliament comes in, these people will be independents, and that will be the party on which they were elected, so they wouldn't have violated the constitution. So it doesn't apply. But actually I disagree. There are many instances in which those constitutional provisions will apply. Article 97(1) G and H. They will apply in many instances, and they have applied in the past. When after the Yana's death, when that.
Professor, what you saying?
Yeah.
I remember that.
So they've applied before on other occasions. So Speaker Bagbin's claim that those two provisions would then have become null and void or whatever, nugatory. No. I'm sorry, but there are circumstances under which they clearly apply. This one, there appears to be ambiguity just because we are getting to the end of the term and all of that nonsense. But look, the simple fact is this: these people have left their parties. The independent one, has joined the party. Can you go and file to run on the ticket of NPP if you are not a member of the NPP? Can you?
What I don't recall is whether the member who went independent, the second deputy speaker,
Yes.
Actually left the party
In order to run as an independent.
He was dismissed by the NPP.
He was dismissed.
So the NPP,
a letter was written.
The NPP actually wrote to the Speaker of Parliament, dismissing him from the political party.
Exactly.
And that's indicated that he still cannot be a member of Parliament because he has been dismissed by the NPP.
Which is why there had to be a by-election.
This is the point. And in making the point about Professor Wayuseni, if my memory serves me right, I stand correct. I think it was Alban Bagbin who reminded him, Wayuseni, that hold on. Because in Parliament, Wayuseni says, so I'm going back to my mother party. He said, no, you cannot do that. It means there has to be a by-elections. And I remember that very well. Because, look, that by-election brought Enusa Fuseni to Parliament, Tamale Central. Because Professor Wayuseni used to be a vice chairman of the NPP, cross-carpet to the NDC in 2004 to contest the Tamale Central elections on the ticket of the NDC, wins and comes back and comes to Parliament, then later on decides to go back to the NPP. And I remember at the time, even the conversation was that, why didn't he stay in Parliament, still with the NDC, pretending to be with the NDC, but then if there's a need to vote, then he would vote for the NPP. Okay, so that has been implemented before. And there's something the lawyers say all the time, the letter and spirit. You see, you must understand the idea behind all of this. I do not think that the idea was that the moment somebody says, I am going to do this, that person, while he has not broken ranks with his caucus or his group, automatically loses his position. Well, we'll come back to this.
Yes.